Now, I'm not a huge fan of having to drop. I don't mind doing it. Part of the reason that I don't like having to use dropping is the same reason I don't like Reavers, and it's because the AI has such an unnecessary advantage over the player. So let me explain. With a Reaver, the player gets it. You can't really stop the Reaver from wasting its shots on one Zergling. I mean, you can, but it's an inordinate amount of micromanagement, and you have to pay to replace the shots. The AI doesn't really have to worry about that. They can build as many Reavers as they want in the first place, and they can build as many Scarabs as they want, and they'll do it instantly. The AI doesn't have bandwidth, kind of it does, but like, realistically, with micromanagement tasks like that, the AI is going to rebuild a Scarab as soon as it's used. The player that's just an action. There's a mental load that a player has that the AI doesn't. So the AI has like an inherent advantage in that it doesn't have to worry about money, nor the mental load of rebuilding the Scarabs. This is actually why I don't like Reavers. Everything else is a meme, it's fun, but like I actually don't like Reavers for that reason. There's an inordinate power balance, and it's the same with most spellcasters too. It's like you attack a ghost, and in that moment it locks you down. It's like High Templar. You attack it, and in that moment it'll storm. The player doesn't have that luxury unless you're super, super good. And the way that the AI reacts is literally instantly. It could do it on one side of the map and the other at the same time. So this is why I don't like Reavers. Now, extend this to dropping. When we were trying to take that first base with the gas on the upraised part to the left of our initial base, keep in mind, the AI can lift and drop units at will, boom, 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 boom. When I have to drop, I gotta like stop everything else I'm doing and meticulously load up and drop. It's such a hassle. The AI can just do it like it's nothing, right? Just again, I would just refer to it as the mental load. The gaming mental load required by the player is so much higher to drop and reinforce areas that you can only get to with drop ships. The AI, it's like nothing. So there's an inordinate power balance there. Someone get his grandpa meds. He's talking about Reavers again. Hey, well, I hope my explanation with the Reavers and the dropships and the spellcasters makes sense, though. Like, I think this is stuff that I've never really heard anyone else articulate, but I think it's absolutely true. This goes all the way back to when I played Enslavers, the remake, not Redux currently, but the one way years and years and years ago, where the person who remade that would put like 17 ghosts in one enemy base, not realizing how insufferable it was because of lockdown specifically. You have to be judicious with how you give the enemy player certain types of units that they can use, again, in an inordinate way over the player. The more powerful the spell, the worse it is in that way. You just have to be very careful as a creator when you give the AI these types of units, because the AI doesn't use them the same way that the player does. It's going to be able to make absolute full use out of them. Necron did a really good job with this. In UED AIP, for example, like I think there's a few examples of this, but like your science vessels, if they were close to death, would just automatically fire off a spell. Like at least use something. Same with ghosts; they would like shoot off a lockdown missile thing. Stuff like that, like it just makes it so that the player has a little more parity with how the AI can use these super powerful, expensive units. Like, oh, I wasn't looking at the right place and I just lost, 300 gas and because I had 2 High Templar in a spot that got picked off. Like, that's a huge loss, and I didn't get to use them at all. Like, that's a really, really big thing. The AI literally can't make that mistake. It literally can't. It's unable to make that same type of mistake. Podcast about game design like this would be very interesting to watch. I think that could be fun. I don't know. I don't want to seem like too grandiose. Like when prompted with something like this, I'd love to talk about it, but to make a podcast would make it seem like I'm trying to claim I have all the answers, It would be cool to get maybe a panel of people though to talk about stuff like that. StarCraft AI is literally a person. We've discovered recently that there's code that makes its reactions more delayed as the game goes on. Really? That's interesting.